Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Seeing some familiar faces, which is always nice. We'll just give everyone a minute to get settled into our Zoom meeting. Hello, hello. Thank you all for joining this afternoon. Good to see you all. We're going to give folks just another minute or so to join us on the Zoom, and then we'll get started with our conversation today. All right. Looks like the trickle is slowing down a little bit. So I'm gonna move us into just introductions in the chat. So thank you all for joining our session today on evaluating community engagement as part of our community engagement conversation series. As everyone starts to log on, we're just going to kick off with some written introductions in the Zoom chat. Just share your name, your pronouns if you'd like, your organization or agency, and then one evaluative question you have about your organization's community engagement work. And I'll note that this is a question that we're going to be working with throughout this workshop today. So definitely take a minute to think a little bit about what kind of evaluative question you might have, sort of why you decided to sign up for and join the session today. So again, for folks who are trickling in, our intro question for the Zoom chat today is just one evaluative question you have about your organization's community engagement work. And you can see on the right side here as well, we have a little bit of context to start us off with on what an evaluation question is. So it's really just asking, well, did this thing that we tried actually work? So an evaluative question really is directed towards assessing either the design, the implementation, any improvements, or the outcome of a program. So we'll give it just another minute and I'll let folks sort of take some time to think about what is one evaluative question you have about your organization's community engagement work. Putting those in the Zoom chat. Right, seeing a couple of introductions trickle through in the Zoom chat already, thinking about how do we understand the impact of our community engagement work, how to do our work when we have limited capacity, what feels valuable for folks from our engagement work. Seeing lots of other questions trickle in, which is great. So thank you all for joining today and for sharing these questions. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be working with this question that you just put in the chat throughout our conversation today. So definitely keep that top of mind as we go through our initial presentation portion, and maybe jot it down for yourself on a piece of paper or a separate note doc so that you can come back to it. With that, I'm going to move us forward into the rest of our conversation. So just to start, just wanted to go over our group agreements for this session, and feel free again to continue introducing yourselves in the Zoom chat as we continue with the slides here. So just to quickly go through the group agreements, what we have here is just what we bring to all of our conversations. So first, listening for understanding, not disagreement, making sure we're bringing our active listening skills today, especially once we get to the breakout group portion of our session. Next, considering the opinions and experiences of others. Third is bringing a spirit of experimentation and creativity. I think especially important for this session on evaluation. Then we have step up, step back. So taking turns speaking and making room for others. And last but not least, have fun, which I think is, again, a really important value to bring to our evaluation work. Ultimately should be having fun. Now, these are just the list that we always like to start with, but if you all have additional group agreements that you think would be important to making sure this is a good environment for you to be able to engage and learn and reflect with colleagues on the Zoom line, definitely feel free to add those into our Zoom chat as well, and we can review them there. I will, as you're thinking about that, move us on to this next slide here just to introduce myself and ourselves at MAPC. So I should have mentioned at the start, my name is Gloria Huangpu. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a community engagement planner here at MAPC, which, as you can see on the slide, is the regional planning agency serving the folks who live in the 101 cities and towns in the metropolitan Boston area. This is our new mission statement on the screen, which is very exciting to be able to share with you all. We just went through a strategic planning process, and I see some of our colleagues who led that work on the Zoom as well. But our current mission statement is that we work towards a more equitable, sustainable, collaborative, and climate resilient future for the people who live and work in Greater Boston. And how we do that is through these areas work at the bottom of the screen that many of our colleagues across the agency lead, including arts and culture work, clean energy work, climate work, also more traditional land use planning areas like housing and transportation and sort of zoning and traditional land use planning. But also, of course, you have our community engagement team. We are all here on the call today. And in addition to myself on the team, I also just want to introduce Emma Kuntz, who is one of our community engagement specialists on the team and is going to be helping with tech. And you can message them in the Zoom chat if you have any questions about the tech side of our conversation today. So in terms of our time together, the next 50 minutes, we're starting with introductions and an overview, which we are already in the middle of. And then we'll dive into an overview of sort of how we see program evaluation on MAPC's community engagement team and our approach, our evaluation journey. Next, we'll take some time for reflection and discussion on what we're going to talk about in that presentation section in some breakout groups and some individual reflection time. And that should take us to the end of our time today. So to just wrap up this first section on overview, just wanted to bring back up the objectives for this conversation series, which folks are probably aware of. I'm seeing some repeat attendees, which is great. But just to remind us all, this community engagement conversation series is really meant to create a space for attendees to share the barriers that we all face around trying to do good community engagement in our work. We also are hoping to gain a group understanding of community engagement principles, strategies, and frameworks. And last but not least, introduce participants to the MAPC community engagement team and share how we might be able to work together on supporting your work. In terms of today's session, specifically on evaluation, our hopes are to develop a shared understanding of how program evaluation principles can be applied to community engagement in the policy and planning realm. Share how MAPC has been experimenting with evaluating community engagement through our community engagement department team's work. And last but not least, introduce tools for evaluating equity in your community engagement efforts, which is really the center of what we've been trying to do here. So with that, I'll take us into the overview of program evaluation and MAPC's approach. And with conversations around evaluation and evaluating community engagement specifically, I always like to come back to this quote from a report called Democratically Engaged Assessment from Imagining America. And we can send out the link to this as well. I think Emma is putting it in the chat. I'll read the quote twice just to let it sink in, and then would love to hear your reactions. So the folks at Imagining America said, how might assessment be an empowering process that enables us to create our path forward together, helps us walk the talk of our highest values, and allows us to share the story of our work in ways that are not only accurate, but also authentic? Read that one more time. How might assessment, or evaluation is another word for this, how might it be an empowering process that enables us to create our path forward together, helps us walk the talk of our highest values, and allows us to share the story of our work in ways that are not only accurate, but also authentic? So I would love to hear any initial reactions that come to mind for folks in hearing this quote in the Zoom chat, any words or phrases that come up. And while you're sharing, I'll just offer my reactions here, really starting with the recognition that evaluation is often something that comes up for folks as an afterthought to check the box after a project is over, or something that folks feel they have to do to prove that their work has some kind of worth to funders or leadership or whoever it might be. But I think this quote is really a great reminder that the core of evaluation is really about and reflected in how we see it on the community engagement team at MAPC, it's about reflecting on our own work, continuing to improve our practices, and making sure that we're aligned in how we're actually implementing our work with the values that we talk about. Seeing that there's some responses in the chat as well around this being an empowering process versus judging, which is definitely really powerful. A reminder that community is not the other, it is us, and we're all connected to some community in our work, in our lives outside of work, etc. Great. Well, thank you for these reactions, and definitely keep adding any thoughts in the Zoom chat. I will move us on here to really ground a little bit more in what is program evaluation and why is it important to evaluate community engagement. So we understand program evaluation as a practice that's used in various different fields to understand the effectiveness and impact of programmatic work through some kind of a systematic analysis. And so by programs here, we're really meaning any kind of intentionally designed set of activities with some sort of intended outcome. So that might look like an early childhood education program, right? That's looking to improve outcomes with young children in terms of education and health. But in community engagement context, that program might be sort of the community engagement approach or community engagement framework that you use in your work. Now, why is it important to actually do this program evaluation work? Well, across the bottom there in the green blocks, you can sort of see our thinking here, where really it starts with accountability and ensuring that how we implement our programs or our community engagement process, again, aligns with the values that we espouse. It's also really about understanding the effectiveness of our engagement work, especially when engagement work can be seen as more intangible and really based in relationships. And last but not least, really understanding the need and the impact that our community engagement practitioners are making so that we continue to improve and grow our processes. And if you have any other thoughts on why evaluation might be important to community engagement work broadly or your work specifically, would also love to hear any thoughts on that in the Zoom chat. And while you're adding those, just wanted to also highlight an example to try to bring to light sort of what program evaluation could look like in an engagement context. So an example, a study rather that you all may be aware of, especially for folks in the Boston area, is this study on public participation from Catherine Levine Einstein's Neighborhood Defenders research. You can see the cover on the bottom right corner there. Einstein, I believe, is a professor at Boston University, where she and her team have studied public meetings in the Boston area and looked at sort of who attended across a range of different meetings and found that participants were really not representative of the local demographic diversity of the area and rather were predominantly white male homeowners. So really bringing data to bear on something that I think a lot of us who work in the community engagement space anecdotally know. So just thought that was a really great example of bringing an evaluative lens to community engagement work. Now, what does this look like in the context of MAPC's community engagement team? We're really interested in evaluating, excuse me, our community engagement work to get at a couple of particular objectives. So for us at MAPC, again, as the regional planning agency, sort of looking to engage folks from across all these 101 towns, we're really wanting to start by testing our hypothesis that inclusive, equitable community engagement practices, like the ones we attempt to use in our work, are making our plans that we write for the region more reflective of community needs and goals. We also want to understand which community engagement approaches are most effective in all those different communities that we work with. And we want to ensure that the funding that we're putting towards community engagement in our planning projects is resulting in better plans that are getting implemented. So recognizing that you all are coming from a lot of different organizations, as we saw in those introductions in the Zoom chat, your evaluative questions may or may not align with some of these objectives that we've shared, depending on your organization's work and context. But regardless, I think there are some key principles and approaches for how we actually address these evaluative questions that we're going to dive into next. So there are a few different components of any evaluation, and there are a couple of different types of evaluations that you might be undertaking. So again, here, thinking about that evaluative question that you came up with in our intro chat discussion and whether it fits, thinking about where it fits in these different categories. So you can see on the top left, these different types of evaluations where you might be doing a needs or demands assessment to see whether you even need to set up a program. And then you might also be doing a process evaluation for some of you that focuses on implementing a program to assess whether it's being implemented consistently, gathering data to inform the design of the program itself. Or last but not least at the bottom, you might be looking at doing an outcome evaluation that really looks more at the impacts or results or outputs of a program that you have been consistently implementing. And you can see how the community engagement team at MAPC, our goals that I mentioned on the previous slide, sort of fall into a couple of these different categories, whether it's some process evaluation to help us understand how well we're implementing our community engagement approach or trying to understand the outcomes and impacts of some of our work. But regardless of what type of evaluation we're doing, we want to have the components on the right side of the page for any evaluation effort we're embarking on. So having a clear purpose of evaluation, knowing who the audience that you're delivering this evaluation to is going to be, the methods or tasks that are going to comprise that process, and then your data that you're collecting and analysis approach. And now I do want to dive a little bit more into each of these components of evaluations because I think we do bring a bit of a different lens to it from that community engagement perspective. And again, think about your specific evaluative question that you brought to the table today as we go through here, and start to think about whether there are ways in which your evaluative question can sort of line up with these components. So starting with, again, purpose of evaluation, what evaluative question are you seeking to answer as you think about evaluating your work? Why are you embarking on this evaluation? How does it align with and advance your broader organizational goals? We'll get into this more later, but also just recognizing that evaluation work is very much a journey, and you can start wherever you are now. If your organization hasn't thought about evaluation at all yet, you're going to have a very different evaluative question that you start with than if this is something that's already a regular process and practice at your organization. You'll, again, also want to think about the audience of your evaluation. So who's going to be receiving or reviewing the results of your work? How are they going to be making decisions about your program or your work based on the evaluation? And also thinking, especially as we consider evaluating community engagement, how will community be involved throughout this process? Are you going to be sharing back the results of the evaluation with them in any way? And what role might they then have in helping to make decisions or take actions? Next, we have methods or tasks within your evaluation. So what methodologies will you be using? Who's going to be involved in determining those methodologies? And particularly important here with evaluating community engagement, how can you design your approach and your methodologies to accommodate multiple ways of knowing? So again, recognizing that often evaluation is seen as something that can be very check the box and quantitative. As we're thinking about evaluating more relational and potentially intangible work, how can we also be accommodating those different types of knowledge, such as lived experience of our community members? That then takes us nicely into, last but not least, data and analysis approach. So thinking about the different kinds of data you need to inform your evaluation question and purpose, how you're going to analyze that data, again, especially if you're thinking about multiple different ways of knowing and types of data, like more qualitative data analysis. And what do you need to do in this analysis process to inspire that trustworthiness and confidence across your audience and with the community members that you're working with? So just to ground this a little bit more in a specific example, and then we'll turn it over to you all for some reflection and conversation. Just wanted to give an example of what it might look like to design an evaluation of community engagement methods using this framework that we've shared. So starting with the purpose of evaluation, the question here might be what engagement methods are most effective in different contexts. You might recall from the MAPC community engagement team's goals that we shared earlier, this is certainly something that we're interested in since we work in so many different communities across the region. We want to recognize that defaulting to, say, public meetings is not necessarily going to be the most effective baseline engagement approach in some communities, though it may work in others. I also want to point out here, this is a very high-level example, but you would, if you were actually embarking on this evaluation, want to get a lot more specific here. In particular, recognizing that you can't evaluate everything at once. So we might have to drill down and be really specific and a little more limited in what we mean by most effective. So for us, we're likely at MAPC going to be thinking about who we're reaching for one, and two, whether participants are self-reporting that they feel like they've been meaningfully engaged over the course of a process. And we'll even break that down further into metrics like asking folks at the end of an event or a public meeting whether they are leaving feeling like they understood the content of what can often be pretty wonky planning or policy topics, whether they know how to engage further in the process, metrics like that we would really break it down into. Next, talking about the audience of our engagement. So who are we doing this evaluation for? For us, it's typically going to be so that at MAPC, our planners across our other departments can develop better project scopes and, again, shift our baseline away from the assumption that public meetings are the default engagement method to use. But gathering some data on what other methods might work is going to help us make those decisions. And also make sure that we're starting to build in some processes of asking community members what methods are going to work best for them. Again, at a very high level, but in terms of methods or tasks, oh, sorry about that, skipped ahead. In terms of methods or tasks for an evaluation like this, we might envision having our planners at MAPC when they're going out and doing community engagement, sort of collecting data with a short questionnaire survey at the end of each event to, again, capture that information on who's participating and whether they feel like they've been meaningfully engaged. And then last but not least, the evaluators on the community engagement team would then aggregate and analyze that data to understand the differences that might arise between engagement methods. So that was a really quick overview of what a potential evaluation project of a community engagement topic might look like. But again, I just want to emphasize that this evaluation work has been a journey, certainly for us on the community engagement team at MAPC. So this all might feel like a lot right now, but you should absolutely feel comfortable starting where you are. We recognize that, everyone starts somewhere, and we always try to meet folks where they are in our engagement work. And I think that principle really applies to our evaluation as well. Just briefly to share where we've come from in this journey on the community engagement team at MAPC, our evaluation work really started before 2021, but in earnest in 2021 when we started to work on clarifying our theory of change. So that really ended up being a process of defining what we mean when we say we're doing equitable community engagement, really clarifying like what we are actually going to do, what are the actions that we're going to take in our project work when we say that we're doing our equitable community engagement process, and what we believe the output or the outcome of doing that would be. So once we really defined that, we were able to move into piloting different process evaluations, developing tools to support our evaluation, to, again, try to think differently about how we capture data, and recognizing we needed different tools to capture data that looked different ways to accommodate those multiple ways of knowing. And now really trying to implement our evaluation process a little bit more consistently so that we can get to an impact assessment, hopefully down the line. Again, we have come a long way. We've done a lot, but we started with really just defining what we thought our theory of change really should look like. And so all of this to say, if any of the points on this journey look interesting to you, definitely reach out, and we'd be happy to have a follow-up conversation and share more about what we learned along our evaluation and learning journey to help support you as well. So that was a lot of me talking and a lot of information. We're going to take a pause here and turn to designing an evaluation of your community engagement practices at your organizations. So again, we're going to go back to that evaluative question that many of you already shared in the Zoom chat from our introductions. So we're going to take 2 minutes here to just do some silent reflection and let folks who didn't have a chance to think about their evaluation question catch up. You'll want to grab a piece of paper to write on or open up a Word doc on your computer and think about, again, what is an evaluative question that you have about your organization's community engagement work? This, again, could be the question that you wrote in the intro chat, or you might think about whether there are any updates or edits that you want to make to that question based on what we talked about so far. And then you can also start to brainstorm notes on those other components of evaluation. So who's the audience of your evaluation? What methods or tasks might be relevant? What data might you need to share? And we'll take another 2 minutes or so to think through that each individually. Once those 2 minutes are over, we'll come back and split everyone out into breakout groups so that we can pair up and share what we're thinking and help each other to develop these evaluation questions and practices together. So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock and we will come back to split up into breakout rooms after that. Thirty more seconds to wrap up any thoughts here. Hopefully everyone has at least a couple of thoughts on what question they might want to ask about evaluating their community engagement practice could look like. Next, we're going to break out into small groups. As I mentioned, Emma is going to be sending you all into breakout groups of 2 to 3 people in just a moment. And when you get there, do just take a couple of minutes to go around the breakout and introduce yourselves to each other. Then you can go in turns, each sharing your evaluation question and explaining how it's relevant to your organization's work. Then about halfway through or a third of the way through, if there are 3 of you, you can switch to the other person and we'll call you back in about 10 minutes to the main group to share back what you discussed live or on the Zoom chat. So with that, Emma, go ahead and send people away. Hello, hello, welcome back. Hi, everyone. Hope you all had some good conversations in breakouts. We'll just give everyone another 30 seconds to join the main room. Hi, everyone. Welcome back from breakouts. Hope there were some good, at least interesting conversations, things to grapple with. I know as much as we try to bring the energy of fun to these community engagement conversations, talking about evaluation can sometimes be a fun challenge, I guess. So hopefully that's where you all landed. Um, Welcome back from breakout groups. You can see on the screen here now, we just have some debrief questions. Really curious to hear how your breakout conversations went. Um, just some prompts. You can answer these or share anything else that's coming to mind for you. What came up in your breakout? How did your evaluative question change? What questions or reflections do you have about evaluating your organization's community engagement work that may have emerged in conversation with your partners? Would love to hear any responses to these questions in the Zoom chat. If folks do want to come off mute and address any of the questions, please do use the Zoom raise your hand function and we'll call on you. But if nothing else, glad to see that folks made some connections in the breakouts with sharing email addresses and hopefully opportunities to connect further after today. Yeah, we'll give folks a second to just put any reflections or thoughts in the chat, or again, feel free to use the raise your hand function to let us know if you want to chime in. Interesting. Seeing a response from Linda in the chat that her question expanded from the expected outcome you had to what effects did it have? So sort of deepening that question around what was the impact of your work in an impact evaluation. Would love to hear more about that and welcome you, Linda, to unmute yourself if you're interested in expanding on that thought.
Sure. The question I had, I'm with a trails committee in town, and we're doing a pilot with signs to raise awareness of the trails, roadside signs. And the question I had was, I think originally it was, did those signs help increase your awareness of the trails? But really, it should be, what effect did those signs have on you? Because it's not just awareness, it may have actually led to other outcomes than just awareness. So that's all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's always a bit challenging for me when I'm thinking about evaluative questions because there's so much that I want to be trying to capture and understand. And I think starting broad is really important and helpful, and then narrowing in from there to your specific metrics that you're interested in. Brandy, seeing you have your hand up. You want to chime in?
Yeah, so it was a great conversation. I got to be in a group with Amina, and we're just really talking about how do you look at um, and understand from community members the longer term impacts of your community engagement work. So I work at an organization called One Square World, and we do deep community engagement processes with a lot of organizations, but particularly with municipalities and with some larger institutions. And one of our big goals is around how do you actually shift the dynamics of power in those processes, and then how do you also work to build up accountability kind of follow up into that throughout the implementation stages, so that from setting the priorities and agenda all the way through determining whether it was successful, you're really centering community members' voices, especially those who've conventionally been marginalized in these processes. And the question I had is, what impact does that have for community members themselves? Like, does this shift the way that people engage in community processes? Does it shift their willingness or ability or the way they feel effective in doing that? Does it shift the environment and the culture in the institution or in the municipality around community engagement processes, either from the institutions themselves, which sometimes happens, but more usually around at least what community members are demanding in terms of what they expect out of a
Mhm.
community engagement process. And I think one of the challenges of my evaluation question is it's definitely like it's a longitudinal survey kind of thing. It's something where you have to make a commitment to tracking and engaging with people over a longer period of time. So our projects are already typically multi-year projects if we're doing this deep community engagement, because that's how long it actually takes.
Mhm.
And then again, continuing with the evaluation piece, that it has to be this longer term commitment to really understanding if we're having the impact that we say we have. And we
Yeah,
see that from repeated engagement with our community partners. So we see that we've built trust there. But is this even more granularly getting down to for the actual people who participate? Is this shifting things in ways that they find meaningful and valuable? And I think that's an important level of rigor for us, in order to,
yeah,
again, make sure that we're not just talking without actually making sure that we are having the real impacts that we say we're having.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. Two really important points. One, that level of rigor and holding ourselves accountable as folks who I think most of the folks on this Zoom call are in positions of institutional power, whether at a government agency, at some kind of nonprofit organization, and holding ourselves accountable to actually doing the work that doing work that has the kind of impact that we say and we hope and we want to have, and having some kind of check on whether that impact is or those outcomes are actually coming to be. I think that's one reason why evaluation can be a really useful tool for us to start adopting more in that community engagement context. But also to your point of building relationship over time. Again, like we're trying to bring an evaluation tool that can be very structured to something that is relational and not should not be time bound. So how do we adopt and mold the evaluation tools that are available to this kind of work? I think that's a big question that we're still trying to address, but um, a big piece of it is I think I mentioned at the start of the hour, thinking not about evaluation as something that you do to check the box at the end, but rather a learning and reflection process that you can bring throughout the course of a project or an endeavor, an initiative that you're trying to do over a long period of time, to help you create moments to pause and reflect and check in on whether the direction of the work is still aligned with where you had initially set out to go. So with that, recognizing we just have a few minutes left, definitely would love to hear any additional thoughts in the chat. Feel free to continue chiming in there. But to this point of sort of what tools we do have available to us, I just wanted to briefly share a couple of resources that might be interesting to you all, um, as you continue thinking about evaluating your community engagement work, that we've started to develop here at MAPC. So again, earlier on in our evaluation journey back in 2022, we put out this report on how we took one swing at piloting an evaluation process to understand how equitable our evaluation our community engagement practices actually were across different types of projects that we worked on. So that is available on our website, and we can send the link just to give you another example of what evaluating community engagement can look like, given that this seems to be a newer application of the evaluation practice, as far as we can tell. Um, Also, just wanted to note, as I mentioned earlier, we did start to develop this toolkit of ways of collecting data to help evaluate your community engagement that adapt to different settings, different ways of knowing. So recognizing that you might ask questions in a certain way about, say, demographics in a survey, but when you're doing tabling at a community event, you're going to want to engage folks and gather your evaluation data differently in that context. So we did some thinking around that. And also develop sort of a workbook to guide how you might think about evaluating your community engagement. These tools right now are internal. We're still working on piloting them with our own planning and policymaking projects and processes. But if it's something that you're interested in, we're happy to have a chat with you and think about how we can help you adapt these tools to your context as well. So that's really all I had for you all today. As we close out, I do just want to put back up here the objectives for our conversation today and some closing questions, as well as an evaluation survey, because of course we want to be evaluating our own engagement of this community of community engagement practitioners. So please feel free to put your thoughts in the Zoom chat in response to these closing questions. What's something that squared up or affirmed what you already know? What's something that changed your thinking or was new knowledge to you? And something that has you thinking in a new way or in a different direction that you look forward to applying or learning more about. So as you think about those reflection questions, also definitely click into that evaluation survey that Emma has dropped in the chat and let us know what you thought of today's session, what you learned, what you're taking away, and if there are any thoughts that you want to share with the group about these closing questions, please also do feel free to add them in the chat. As you're thinking about and reflecting on those, I want to flag a couple of last things here. So this was actually our next to last community engagement conversation of this initial series. We have one more coming up in May on facilitation techniques. So definitely make sure that you're signed up for that on our website. And then I believe we'll be thinking about what's to come next after this. Based on interest from the group. And last but not least, for folks who have been here for multiple community engagement conversations, you know this, but we are here to help in a variety of ways if we can be of service. So definitely reach out to us on the community engagement email inbox. We can help folks with thinking about developing communication strategies with facilitation, as we'll talk about in May's community engagement conversation, partnership building, creative engagement, as well as a host of different types of workshops that we often share. Thank you all for the reflections that folks are sharing in the Zoom chat. Love to see that folks are thinking about evaluation in new and different ways. And with that, just thank you all again for taking the time to join us today over the lunch hour to think about community engagement and evaluation. Really appreciated the conversation and hope to connect further soon. Have a good afternoon, everyone.